Hey guys, I was asked about why am I running two systems and not one. Well, let me just try to take you through this a little bit. The system you're looking at now is a Gridtie system. So for those of you who do not know, Gridtie is basically just you take everything you can and sell it back to the grid to zero out the bill. So right now I'm making about 3,800 watts, and we look over at that meter, I'm pushing back about 3 kilowatt hours. So I'm using about 800 watts roughly. So the difference between these and say a Midnight or a Outback charge controller is that, say you have, like I got 26 panels, 13 on one array, 13 on another. Well, all of the panels on each array are all wired in series, so you have one positive, one negative that comes into a combiner box, and then they get brought down to that DC disconnect right there, and you have your wires that come across into here, your positives and your negatives that go into this inverter, and he basically just shoves everything he can into the grid to zero out the bill. That's the way it works. The difference with the Midnight Solars and the Outbacks is you have strings. Like Classic 150, he can be up to 150 volts. So probably, say your open circuit's 30 volts, 4 of them, wired in series. There's 120. You could probably do 5. That'd be pushing a little bit, but depends what voltage your battery bank is running at. If you're running at 48 volts, 120 would be great. I'm running at 24, so I can get away with 2. So that's pretty much the way it works, guys. So I'm running two systems mainly because this was done back in '07, before I needed battery backup, and I had already started on the battery backup path before I heard of something called AC coupling, which allows you to take grid-tie systems like this and tie it to a battery bank. The only difference or problem I was going into was, I found this out later, was this inverter is not, it doesn't play nice with AC coupling, so I would have had a problem regardless. But let me take you into the garage and I'll finish this up and talk about the Offgrid stuff. Alright guys, quick recap of the system. Outback GVFX 3524, he's mounted on a Midnight Solar E-panel, 250 SDL. 250 means 250 amp breaker right there. The L means it opens to the left. There are my DC breakers going right to left. The first two are the ground fault detection interruption for the entire system. Then you have the breaker for the battery bank and a breaker for the charge controller. These are AC breakers. These first two allow me to bypass that inverter if something were to happen, and that breaker on the far left is to actually shut off the AC coming in. All the AC stuff is wired with 8 gauge THHN, so you can handle the 40 amp load that I have coming in, no problems. Alright, so Trimetric 2025A and FlexNac 60 with a Mate 2. So there you go, that's a quick recap. Alright, I've been asked this question before, and I'll go ahead and address it now, is, well, if you're not selling back to the grid, why did you buy a GVFX 3524? Why not a VFX 3524? At the time, they were the same price. That's number one. Number two, I wanted the option to sell back to the grid. I mean, it's a good option to have, and as I said, they were the same price. These inverters, I've been told, they're kind of finicky with a generator. I've talked to Outback tech support on that, and what I found out was it depends on the generator. Some of the crappier generators, yeah, they're finicky with. All of them are, not just this, but the VFX as well. With the little Hondas and even the bigger Hondas, they're not finicky at all, So I don't know if that's just someone had a bad experience and it went all over the place with that one, but that's what Outback support told me. Chris up there told me that. I think Katie up there said pretty much the same thing. I don't have a generator, but good to know. I'm not selling back now on this system. I don't plan to. It's not designed for that. It's designed to do two things: take care of the loads, which it's doing right now. As you can see right there, I am supporting 700 watts, and there's 700 watts of load, and the rest is going into that battery bank. Let's see what he's doing. He's keeping that battery bank at 26 4 and at 39.2 amps. 49.4 amps coming out the solar. I'm sorry, 49.4 volts at 21.8 amps. And he's knocking it down to that 26.4 at 39 amps. That's what he does all day long. This battery bank right here, this guy here, that's what he does. He just sits at 26.4. I've talked to the manufacturer about that. A lot of people would say, no, you need to exercise your batteries all the time. Well, I talked to the people who make them, and they had a nice hour-and-a-half long conversation with a guy named Jim. And he said, if you're exercising them down to 60%, 50% state of charge once a month, and you're keeping them at 26.4 every day, you're not hurting those batteries at all. And these are Concord sun extenders, the 3050T. They're AGMs. They're a tough battery. They're expensive too, $400 a piece, and I've got 8 of them in that battery bank. I went with AGMs simply because I didn't want to have to deal with lead acids. I mean, I'm not knocking Trojan or Roll Surette; those are awesome. They're great batteries. You know, if they weren't in the in the garage, where I would have to vent them out. If I had like a little place to put them that was easily vented, then oh yeah, I would have went that route because they're half the price. But if they're inside the garage is insulated. Well, somewhat. It's whoever insulated it, they ran R7 instead of R13, so it's insulated to some degree. But yeah, that's why I went with them. Just low maintenance, pretty much no maintenance, and they were tough. Now I can't say that I found those all by myself. OBXO Wind, here's a shout out to you. I saw a video that he did on some of his batteries. I think his were the 12-volt ones, and I'd already looked at Trojan and Rolls, and I stumbled across that video. And actually, didn't stumble. I'm a subscriber over there. I actually watched it. Stumbled across meaning, hey, he had a new video up in his own batteries. And I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna give those guys a call. And any company that you can actually talk to the tech support guys for a good hour and a half before you even buy anything, and they help you design out your battery system, with the components you have, that's the kind of company I want to do business with, and I mean, I've probably talked to these guys good 5-6 hours, in total, and they have no problem. Jim down there is awesome. He's been doing this for 25-30 years. He knows batteries, and he just said just sit your float to 26.4 and let it sit there, but once a month drag them down, and that's what I've been doing. But back to the Gridtie stuff. Can I combine that Gridtie with this? The answer is no. You cannot combine it. I got 1,440 watts of solar on this system now on this inverter here. I couldn't move over the entire one entire array to this guy. It would overload it. Not only that, but that charge controller is maxed out. So what would you have to do? Well, let's just do a hypothetical here. Let's say the Fronius inverter takes a dive on me, and it just dies tomorrow. What would it take to do this? I'm gonna say let's stay at 24 volts here, okay, like this inverter is. What I would do is I'd get another one of these 250 STLs. I get another 3524 GFX 3524. I'd have to get a couple of classics, and this is where it gets interesting. I have 14 panels on my flat roof, and I have 13 panels on my pitch roof. If any of you guys who have done string sizing knows that that can get interesting. That's one point of contention. Another point of contention is, why are you going to run 24 volts? Why would you not run 48 volts? It's more efficient. Yes, it is more efficient. Wiring is smaller. Agreed. However, when I built this system, I oversized all the wiring by about a factor of 2. So where it called for an 8 gauge, I ran a 4. The only place that I kind of stuck at the max was this out back right here. The biggest cable he could take was a 6 gauge, which that's what I used. 6 gauge welding cable. That's what he's running in there right now. The wire coming down from the combiner is a 4 gauge welding cable. I think it's about 40 feet of that. It comes down right there and this conduit right here. So the system is oversized in that matter. How would I do the strings? Like I said, I got an odd number of panels. I would most likely, on the south array, I have 14 panels. I would add 2 more to it, and I'd wire them up in a minimal. One string would have 4 panels each. 120 volts. Let's just say open circuit's 30 on those panels for a rough number. 120 volts. Classic 150 can handle that, no problems. I've talked to Ryan. I've talked to I can't remember the guy's name up there. I think it was Tom, but I think he's moved on now. They said, yeah, the Classic can take that, no worries. And plus, there's the 200. That brings up other options. You want to push voltage, not amperage. So let's just say I had 12 panels up there. Could I not do 2 strings of 6 on a Classic 200? Don't know. I'd have to check the string tool, because you are talking 200 watts a shot. But anyway, what I'm saying, guys, is there's these things you got to think about. You got to kind of design it out before you get up there and do it. And let's just say I have it designed out. What would it take to do it? Well, I got to take the entire array apart, both of them. Am I going to add panels onto the west array? Because it's got 13 on there right now. Let's say I want to go, strings of 4. I'd have to add 3 more panels. That means I'd have to get, some more unirack for that up there. More panels up there to mount, and you're talking more money. So it all just depends on what you're going to do. There's a lot of options these days. So yeah, it could be done. It obviously could be done. Am I going to do it? Well, not unless that Fronius kicks the bucket. However, this guy right here, this FlexMax 60 is maxed out, right? He can take 1500 watts to 24 volts, and he's at 1440 right now. I am in earthquake country. Let's say something happens, power's knocked out for a week. So, will this guy do what I need to do for a week? Yes, it would. No problems. It'll take care of the battery bank, it'll run the refrigerators, turn the timers on to conserve. Not an issue. Could it run an air conditioner? No, it could not. Not even a window. I've got it. The one mistake I made was I should have got the 80 amp version of this guy. That was one thing I did do wrong, looking back. What am I going to do to fix it? Well, I am seriously considering, and I'm on the fence. Well, I'm not really on the fence. I'm actually leaning toward getting it. Is getting a Classic 150 and replacing it, and just there's nothing wrong with it. Just put it back in the box and bring it out if I need it. Why the Classic 150? Well, what if something, like I said, an earthquake were to happen, and I needed another 1,000 watts of panels on here? I've got room on the inverter. He's at 3,500, and I got 1,400 watts coming in. He can handle that, no problem. The Classic 150, I could, if I needed to, I could cut into 1,000 watts of panels on my south-facing array. I've got wire up here. I've got plenty of 4 gauge and 6 gauge and 8 gauge wire up here left over from my install, as well as I'm one of those guys. When you go down to Home Depot and you look at the wire that they miscut, that they have for 60% off, 70% off, because someone cut it too short or whatever. I've got a few rolls of that stuff up there, some 6 gauge and some 4 gauge THHN. In a pinch, that and some electrical tape, hey, that'll do you just fine. You could bring that in. Like I said, on the combiner box, I've got 4 gauge wire coming into here, and it's welding cable. That's good for at least, I think, 110 amps, 120 amps, maybe even more. So the Classic 150 would give me those options, and I'm a nice guy. I help out my neighbors. Last time we had a power outage, we were out of power for 2 days. I threw an extension cord over my neighbor's fence and said, hey, plug in, have one of those extension cords with like little 3 plugs. I said, hey, plug in your fridge, plug in whatever you need. You need to plug in some lamps, not a problem. I like helping people. I'm okay with that. So it does give me options. So that this FlexMax 60 may be going bye-bye. Like I said, nothing's wrong with it. It's just that I want that option. I like options. So, but that's it, guys. Just this video is getting kind of long. You can do it. Yes, you can. But I'm not going to do it until that Fronius kicks the bucket. Let that Fronius continue to make me money by zeroing out my power bill. And there is that damn fan. It never fails. Every time this camera is on that thing, that fan starts going off. So that's it, guys, for now. Hope this helps. Sorry I rambled on. Have a good one.